All right, 3, 2. Oh, and you're gone. Well, that was lame of you.
Couldn't hear you.
Oh, you couldn't? Okay, hold on. Now I gotta restart.
Your green box was popping up, but
3, 2, what? No, just kidding. Um, so yeah, this is the second recording of our first Waffle
episode.
Sandwich movie reviews. Um, we are gonna try and get through this with the recording actually saving this time, and we watched All Hallows Eve, which is a horror movie. So if you don't like horror movies and you get squeamish, you don't need to stay and listen to this because it is somewhat a little squeamish. Um, this movie is a basically like a scary story to like three different scary stories being told through a video recording that a babysitter and her
Babysitties.
babysitties are are watching. She gets bullied into letting these kids watch
Yeah, a
this
random
film.
tape in the candy bag of the boy.
Yeah, the boy finds a tape. He and the the girl decide to bully their babysitter, and she just goes along with it. She says, "Okay, let's watch this random tape that who knows what's on it." And I mean, you're a parent. You would you like that
Nope.
if your babysitter let your kid watch something?
It'd be weird to get a VHS tape in these days.
Yeah. So if you are younger, then you probably wouldn't even know what a VHS is or how to use it.
Probably
So,
not.
um, but yeah. So this movie, it's a horror movie. It's three different tales of a horror movie dealing with the same slasher slash entity slash person named Art the Clown.
Whatever he is.
Yeah. Um, I thought it was a great movie. It was a little much at times. There were some parts that we'll get into later when we get to the spoilers that I don't think necessarily needed to be in the movie. But overall, the movie itself was really good. What
Yeah,
do you think?
I liked it. I liked the way it was shot. I liked the way the stories played out. Like you said, some of the stuff could have ended early, let the imagination take control. But they decided to not let your imagination take control of what happened in the end of each little film, and they showed you what happens in the end.
Yeah, which is kind of funny because, like, most movies like that, I'm not a big fan of movies ending stuff to the imagination, but with this one, I actually would have rather it
Yeah,
been left to the imagination than have to see some of the stuff that they put.
yeah, what they went
Um,
with.
yeah. Overall, though, I think it's a great movie. If you like horror movies, this is definitely an indie horror movie. It's not a high budget, I don't think. I mean, I'm pretty sure we looked up last time what the
They got a 5.1 on IMDb.
yeah,
IMDb, not B.
yeah, and then what was hold on. What was the amount it took to make the movie? I don't think it was a very expensive movie to make. So, it was 83 minutes. It doesn't say how much it was. Um
The budget was about 500,000.
yeah. Overall, though, good movie. Um, I really liked it. It was directed by Damien Leon and written by Damien Leon, so he made the character of Art the Clown. And Art the Clown himself is a very menacing looking character. Um, yeah,
A mute clown.
yeah. It's basically a mime and a clown mixed together. Most terrifying thing in the world
Yeah.
to some. I will say, clowns can be kind of creepy looking. We last night we were watching another movie and then we Dumbo got turned on for some reason. At the beginning of Dumbo there's a bunch of clown pictures and I'm like, how did I watch this as a kid with all these clowns? And
Dumbo in general.
Art the Clown kind of gives that same menacing clown feel Um, not only because he is actually menacing in the movie, but yeah. So what do you think? Would you tell people to watch this?
I would recommend it, but it has like the Hills Have Eyes kind of feel to it. So if you can't watch movies like Hills Have Eyes and things like that, or what's the other one with Elon Roth? The one where they go on vacation and they like kidnap the people and torture them.
Turistas?
No, man, they made a bunch of them. I can't remember what it's called though.
Pretty much, if you don't like Rob Zombie films, don't watch this.
I don't even know about that.
I mean, it's as violent as it
Oh,
gets.
Hostel,
Hostile, yeah.
Hostel.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of kind of stuff of that nature
Yeah.
in it,
yeah.
but definitely if you like movies, you know, and you can tolerate some of that kind of stuff, it's actually really for low budget, really well done.
Yeah. I think this one might have gone straight to VH or not VHS, but DVD.
Probably straight to
Yeah,
VHS, yeah.
straight to TV. There you go.
Back in 2013 with the VHS tape.
Yeah. So yeah, that'd be crazy. That'd be crazy. But yeah, so that's the basic premise of the movie. Now if you don't want spoilers, go ahead and just bounce out right here. We'll give you a second to not listen to us spoil the movie and talk about what actually happened in it. So yeah. You think they're
Spoilers.
you think they're gone?
Hopefully. If not, they want spoilers.
Okay. So what were the spoilers? We're gonna get real deep on this movie. Real deep. No, so the the movie starts with these kids are watching it's a horror movie, right? They were watching like an old school horror movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were watching an old school horror movie and looking at their candy, and the babysitter was kind of like walking around, and the kid finds a tape in his candy, and he wants to watch it, so he bullies her to watch it, as we said
Pretty much.
earlier. And they both like kind of team up on the babysitter to let them watch this movie, and he says, oh, it's probably just a horror movie, like we gotta watch it. So they start watching it, and that's where these stories start. So you get the first story. It's a girl at a subway platform. She is reading a book, and these people walk past her. We didn't know it was a subway platform at first until the people walked past and they asked her like, when's the train coming? Like
Yeah.
both of us were kind of like, wait, like where is she? Is she just chilling in this place by herself? So at that point the people leave. We don't get to see where they go. I mean, if it's a subway platform, like you would think they would be near enough to
Yeah.
see the weird clown guy that shows up right after that out of nowhere. But no, they don't. So we get our first look at Art the Clown. He shows up. He kind of does dumb things, but he's silent, so it's creepy as hell. And he sits next to her. I don't remember. Did he have a bag in his hand? Yeah, I
Can't
don't.
remember. It's been a
I
while
don't.
so we
Yeah,
watched that.
yeah,
I know he had the horn
yeah,
and flowers. So
yes,
maybe he had a bag and that's where he was getting all that stuff out of.
maybe. So he goes next to her, and then he like smiles. She's creeped out, obviously, and then he that's the part where he takes the needle, right? And he
Well, I
stabs.
think he like gives her the flowers and there's a bunch of like cockroaches in the flower or something.
Yeah, yeah,
So she gets weirded out. She goes to leave and then he grabs her.
yeah. He grabs her hand and he sticks her in between the right here. He sticks a needle in there, and she passes out, and then she wakes up in a in the subway tunnel,
Yeah, it's
chained.
like the basement of the subway because you can still hear the announcements going off of the trains coming near.
Yeah, and so she's not the only one down there. There's two other girls down there, and they were both also taken. Um, at this
There was
point,
one other girl
yeah,
that they're saying that just got dragged down the hall where their chains are all leading.
Yeah, but they have no idea what's going on down the hall. So the two girls aren't sure. They don't want to go down there, but the newest girl, I forget her name. Oh, what was her name? Um, she decides that they need to go down there so that they can try and escape.
Yeah, because there's three of them. They don't know what's down there. They assume it's just one person since one girl's only got pulled, so it's a 3-on-1.
Yeah. So Casey is the name of the newest girl, and the other two are Kristen and Sarah. So Casey, uh, Casey and Kristen decide to follow their chains, but upon when they start to follow them, Kristen gets grabbed by the chains and pulled down the hallway. Um, and then Casey tries to break her chains to try and save Kristen, but a humanoid figure comes out and stops her from breaking them. Does Kristen get killed before or after that?
Is Kristen the one that was at the platform?
Casey was the one at the
No.
platform.
So one of them gets pulled, the other one gets chopped up by the
Yeah, so
humanoid,
that's what
the
it
giant
is.
butcher sword.
Yeah, so Kristen is the one who gets killed by the
Yeah, he
humanoid
chops her
thing.
up. But at that point, the chains on the other girl break, and she kind of runs. And while running, she runs into it looks like a homeless guy pushing a shopping cart, but it turns out to be one of these entities in the
Yeah.
basement, and he's got a shopping cart with more human remains.
Yeah, so he takes Kristen's, right? He takes her, like the remains or whatever, down the hallway.
uh, I think his another random remains, probably from the other girls, already been chopped up because she ran. The other girl, what was the other one's name?
Sarah is the other one.
Is that the one that was on the subway station?
No, that's Casey.
So Casey gets away and finds a homeless dude, and he's got remains, and then his face turns into some
Yeah,
demonic.
and then he takes her, and then
Yeah,
she wakes up in a room where there's a pregnant lady strapped to a
she's chained up with her
she's
hands
yeah,
standing, and
yeah.
then Casey wakes up and she's strapped to a table.
Yeah, and the pregnant woman, this was one of the parts that I could have
Yeah,
gone
this the
without.
whole
The whole end of
this whole
this, yeah.
yeah
It basically turns into a Rosemary's Baby thing
yeah. They
at
give
the
the
end of
one
it.
girl C-section to get the baby, and then the other girl. And I'm assuming the thing that's undressing because they made it look the way it was supposed to be is like the devil, and
Probably.
he goes to the table,
Yeah.
and we'll just that's how that one ends.
Yeah. That one that's how it ends. And it was weird because they could have left it with just like showing the
The baby being born,
yeah,
like
that's it. And
that
then
enough. You already knew what was going on down there, but
yeah, it was very, very much reminded me, at least. I don't know if you watched Rosemary's Baby, but it reminded me of that movie a lot.
well,
Um
between that and Hills Has Eyes has that same thing.
yeah, in the one part.
Yeah,
But yeah, and then so that's the first story. And
she
then
stops it and
yeah,
tells them it's time to brush and get to bed.
yeah. And then we get to the second story, which I'm gonna let
Well,
you.
she finally gets them up to bed, and she decides, "Hey, I can't be a bigger wuss than these kids, so I need to continue watching the movie."
Yeah.
So she decides she's going to pour herself a glass of wine and continue watching the movie. So the second one starts off, and like each one of them is filmed with like a different film grade.
Yeah.
So like this one seems like was it this one? No, the last one has the where it looks like some of the pieces of the film were burnt. But anyways, so this one, it's this girl and her boyfriend, fiance, husband, whatever he was. They just moved out of the city and they just moved out into this big house out in the middle of nowhere. And she's on the phone with her friend telling her that her and her boyfriend need to come visit soon once they get everything unpacked, and how much she absolutely loves being out in the middle of nowhere and not hearing a thing, and pulls the phone and is like, "Oh, you hear that? That's right. You hear nothing." And then she loses the power to her house. The phone cuts out, and now she's freaking out. She literally 2 seconds loving it. The next, she's absolutely hating it.
All of a sudden, not the greatest thing in the world being
Yeah,
in the
absolutely
outdoors.
hates being out in the middle of nowhere. So she goes around and she's trying to find a flashlight because the house is pitch black now, and she's tumbling around. She finally finds a flashlight, and a giant beam of light lands in like the backyard of her house. I think she finally is able to make a phone call,
Yeah,
and
she tells her husband, I'm
she
pretty sure, that
yeah,
something crashed.
he's almost home, and he'll be there in 30 minutes because he's working 300 hours away, and she's alone.
Which is weird because he is a painter. So,
Yeah. Well, I think he's getting his art show set up,
yeah.
and that was so he was getting that ready. There's also a painting that she doesn't like that she covers with a sheet and talks about how it terrifies her and she doesn't like it and it scares her, and she really hopes it sells at the art show so it is absolutely gone and she never sees it again.
Yeah.
So while on the phone, an alien comes into her house and she's freaking out, and she loses contact with her husband or boyfriend, and so he calls the cops, which the cops also in rural areas aren't right next door. So they're probably 30 to 40 minutes away from her house. So this alien comes in, and probably the best thing of this entire movie is this alien. It is absolutely loud as fuck when it breathes,
Yep.
and just the way it walks, the different cadences it has, and all these weird things it does, it is absolutely amazing. Loved every second of this alien.
Yeah. No, it was real good. It was a real good alien. It was
Like,
this story was probably both of our favorites of
yeah, they
the
left this
three.
one. Yeah, they left this one open to your imagination in the end. But it was just everything about it was typical horror movie. So instead of her running out of the house, she decides to go upstairs. So she goes upstairs, locks herself in the bathroom, and the alien can't find her. So he's trying to find her. He's walking around, and she's upstairs holding her breath, trying not to scream or make any sound. So he can't figure out where he is. So he comes up the stairs, and it's got a third stair or a third story. So he's about to go up, and then he decides, hey, why am I going to do that? I can just activate this thing in my ship that makes sounds that's going to make humanoids absolutely go insane. So he activates this thing. It's a weird sound. It drives her insane. She screams.
And
So he
they,
breaks into the bathroom where she's hiding. They have a little fight where she pulls off one of his, probably not air or oxygen because he can't breathe here. So it's some kind of thing that she pulls off of him so he can't breathe, and she runs away again. This time, instead of going up to the third floor, she goes downstairs and hides under the stairs. It's got like a little hidden door, so she goes and hides in there. The alien comes down, and this was probably my favorite thing it did. It climbs up onto a table where there's a cardboard box, and he pretty much starts like going into it. Like he's like head and everything is in the box trying to find her, and it's just a typical moving box, not some huge box that she could have been hiding in. And at this point, I tell Sandwich, I was like, her phone's gonna ring.
yeah.
It's in her pocket. It typical. Phone rings. He finds her. It's the husband. Oh, the cops are on the way. I'm almost there. And this thing grabs her and starts pulling her out of the house. not very strong because she's not holding on to anything. She's not really grabbing anything that's gonna help her. But the alien is absolutely struggling to pull this girl out.
Yeah.
In the end, he keeps pulling. It gets to the piece of artwork that she absolutely hates. She grabs the cloth. It falls off, and the alien kind of stops when it happens, which was kind of weird. I kind of thought the piece of art was either terrifying him or scaring the shit out of him, or the alien, not him. I guess it's an alien, and he was just going to leave. But no, he just continued to drag her out, and it ends with them panning to the portrait that this guy painted, and it's Art the Clown.
Yeah.
So that
Which
is now his second appearance in these films. Definitely a smaller part than in the first one,
yeah.
but still coming around.
Which is interesting because that makes you question, like, well, did that thing that dragged her out, did it change
Yeah,
into
the
Art the
alien.
Clown? Was Art the Clown something that scared it? Like, it leaves a lot to
Yeah,
theorize for
like it
yourself.
recognized it or something because he kind of like, oh, what?
Yeah.
Why? Why do you have that picture?
Yeah. And bear in mind her boyfriend or husband drew this from a dream. That's why he did the painting. It was from his dreams that he
Yeah,
saw this menacing clown and decided to draw it. So that one ended on a very interesting note.
yeah. It didn't really
We
show her get onto the
yeah,
ship and fly away or do anything weird. That one just kind of here's Art the Clown. He's got the menacing smile, the black dot on his nose,
yeah,
and that's that.
yeah, yeah. We didn't need to see her, get
Yeah,
taken up to the ship and whatever they were gonna.
show you what aliens do. I'm
Yeah,
surprised.
oof.
Honestly, after all three of them, kind of surprised that one didn't go further. But I'm
I'm
happy it did not.
yeah, I'm glad they didn't because
Yeah,
if you remember the movie Paul, like he even said in there, and I say it with all the alien stuff. He's like, "What am I gonna learn from an ass?"
yeah.
Like, and that's usually where people go with it. And I'm like, exactly are you gonna learn? Like when
Just making
alien
sure they
movies
don't.
do that. Like,
They're
so
just
I'm
making sure they
glad.
don't got the colon cancer.
Yeah, yeah. I'm just glad that.
Aliens are really worried about humanoids having colon cancer, so they're just the ones that don't want to go to the doctors and get their colonoscopies are like, well, we need a check.
All right, you heard it here. You don't get your colonoscopy. The aliens are
Yeah,
coming to your
aliens got to
house.
come down and check it out for you.
Yeah, so watch out. So that one ends, and then from there, she watches the third part.
Well, from there, no, because
Is that
after
when she
that,
starts seeing things?
I think she turns the TV off, sees something behind her. She turns around and like she sees. It makes it think you see the alien like hide behind a wall real fast. So she goes upstairs, and what she heard noises.
No, so that part happens after.
Oh,
So it's the third story, then that part.
no, 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 no. It's the second one. So that she thinks that she sees the alien. She doesn't think it's the alien. She thinks it's the little boy.
Oh,
So
okay.
she goes upstairs to yell at them to go to bed. They're both passed out.
In
She's
bed,
like, it's
yeah.
not. Yeah, she's like, it's not funny that you guys are doing that. Like, stop doing that. And so she then goes to leave, and the little boy goes, "We've been here the whole time." He's like, "Why do you keep rattling the door? If you're just gonna come in, come in." And like you can tell in her face, she's like, she knows she hadn't been upstairs, and the only time she opened the door was to go yell at them right now. So she's kind of now freaking out that there's possibly something in the house, but does absolutely nothing about it, and
Yeah.
goes downstairs to continue her movie.
Yeah, so she watches it, then we get the third and final story, which this one it was very quick. Oh, it's
I like
basic.
I, I like the story on this one, but they could
It's
have ended it
it's
a little bit
it's
sooner. But yeah,
yeah, it reminds me of man, I keep saying movies all the time. Urban Legend back in the day, where the guy's in the back seat of her car, she stops at the gas station attendant sees him, he's like, someone's in the back seat. Kind of reminds me of that, but if the gas station attendant was the one that was gonna get murdered. So in the third
yeah,
one, we see a girl, I forget her name, she's a costume designer, And
Yeah, for Hollywood.
yeah, for Holly, when she's driving somewhere, she stops at a gas station, and it's one of those gas stations that you have to get your gas pumped. You can't do it yourself. So she's waiting, uh, and she like finally someone comes out, and it's the gas station attendant, and he's kicking Art the Clown out, who apparently pooped all over the walls in the bathroom and like threw his poop everywhere. Um, and so he kicks him out and tells him like, "Don't come back here, or else I'm gonna call the cops." So Art the Clown looks at him, looks at the girl, leaves. Gas station attendant gets her gas, or starts getting her gas. They're talking. She's talking about how she's a costume designer. She works in Hollywood. And then they hear something inside the building like break. So the gas station attendant says, "Oh, I'll be right back." He goes inside. A couple minutes later, he still doesn't come back. So she goes to follow inside. And that's where we see her. The horrific scene she sees when she walks in is the gas station attendant getting dismembered by Art the Clown. Um, he is laughing, of course, but not laughing. It's the like mime laugh kind of thing. And he looks back at her, and she like books it out of there. She didn't have to pay for her gas though.
Free gas.
Free gas. Um, so she takes off going down the road. She
She's
calls.
driving for like 2 or 3
Yeah,
minutes, and
she
then
calls 911, right? Or she calls
yes,
somebody. Yeah, she
yes, she
calls
calls 911
911,
to report the murder.
but it's not going through. She's having problems with the cell service because she's where she's driving. Um,
Yeah, after she hangs up is where she sees then Art the Clown standing with a sign saying "Circus this way."
yeah, and then
So
she
he's
does
teleporting around.
yeah, teleportation shoes. Remember
Yeah,
that one?
he's the guy
Teleportation
from
shoes.
Don't Breathe.
Yeah, yeah.
Just
Your favorite.
what?
Yep, turkey baster.
Turkey
Um,
baster. If you don't know that, watch that movie.
yeah.
You'll understand.
So after that, she stops for some reason. There's like
There's a car.
yeah, there's a car, so she stops. And does she get out at that point?
Yeah, she goes to get help from the broken down car.
And he's in the car.
No, she's in the car. There's another person in the car, but her face looks like it's been scalped.
Okay, yeah, and then she runs back to her car. She starts to drive away again. Art gets behind her,
Art's in the
uses
car. Yeah,
cellophane to try and, wrap around her face.
yeah. She
Um,
pokes a hole in the mouth and crashes.
yeah, I think she crashes, and then she runs to a shed.
Yes.
And in the shed, she like locks it so he can't get in. But then, of course, it's much like Jason movies and Freddy and all that, and Jurassic Park. Life finds a way. Um,
She decided to take a nap in this absolute terrifying situation.
yeah, she's being chased by a killer clown and decides to take a nap. And then when she wakes up, well, he's not banging on the door anymore. He's coming up
No.
from the ground. So he has dug his way underground to come up through the ground. She tries to escape the shed. He gets a couple good hits on her.
Yeah, with his morning star of medical equipment with
Yeah.
scalpels and blades and needles. And he's just whipping the heck out of her.
Yeah, she finally gets out. She runs to the road. Somebody
Well,
else
it's,
is
while he's whipping her,
yeah.
a scalpel falls off. She
Yeah.
stabs him in the eye
Oh yeah.
and then dabs him in the back with a knife, and then she runs away.
And then she runs away, and then there's another person in a car, and she gets into their car, and they flee, and then Art catches up with them in her car. It's her car, right? Or is it the other car that we saw?
Honestly, I don't know. It could have been his car. I don't.
Yeah, so
I don't know where the car came from.
he catches up with them, and it's where we see that, like, at first when you're watching this movie, you kind of think like, okay, Art the Clown's supposed to be a
Needles,
slasher and stuff,
nice.
but instead he pulls out a gun and just shoots a guy in the head. So the car crashes, and then she wakes up in a operating room and having been dismembered and having obscenities on her body. Which again, this is a part that me and Waffle both thought was unnecessary to the plot. Like you could have
Yeah,
just showed that she was gonna get operated on and then just
you
left
could
it
have
at
shown
that.
her on an operating table with the bloody. You could have shown just her head with the bloody, like, off his medical tools that he had used,
Yeah.
and just left it to your imagination. But
Yeah. I could see, like, that's why at the beginning we said, like, if you watch Chills Have Eyes and you couldn't handle that, then you're not gonna be able to
yeah,
handle
there's a
this movie,
lot
because
of
it was very much it was pretty intense with some of the scenes. And I mean, it's an independent horror film, so they want that shock and awe,
yeah,
but it's not necessary. And that's what I feel like a lot of higher budget horror movies get, is you don't need to have that shock and
yeah,
awe to get your point across.
yeah.
But and then we get
Isn't
the
he's just laughing at her at the end, and that's
yeah,
where that one ends.
yeah.
I do
So
want to say the one thing about that one that I liked the most was the way they filmed it. It made it seem like those old film drive-in movie theaters, and it was played so many times that the heat from the lamp that projects the movie to the screen had burnt some holes in it. So you're watching it and you'll see just white spots all over your screen where like that would have happened from old films.
yeah,
So I definitely like that each one was filmed with like a different grain or feel to it,
yeah,
which was really cool.
all of them were slightly different, which is what, it was directed by the same guy. But I wonder if, because they had a few they had a few uh I wonder if they had more than one writer. But no, it's just
Possibly
him. It's just him. So
just him
technically, yeah, it's just him. So he wrote all three stories, which is interesting because he directed each story in a
story.
different way than the other. So after that, uh obviously Disturbed, the babysitter, Sarah, turns off the television, and then the phone rings. She answers the phone, and it's the girl from the third story
Yeah, the phone call she
calling
made
911.
somehow made it to her.
Yeah,
And she thinks it's her friend prank calling her, making this call, which makes no sense that you found a random VHS tape and somehow your friend knows that you A just watched the one where the girl calls someone and she has also seen it.
yeah.
So it's a little weird to assume your friend's calling you, prank calling you on Halloween.
She assumed it because she didn't want it to be true. She knew what was
Yeah.
going on. So she looks in the mirror above the TV, and behind her is Art the Clown. And it freaks her out. He keeps walking closer to her, but when she
No,
turns around,
the not the mirror. The movie turns back on.
yeah, okay, there you go. The movie turns
And
back on, and he's
it's
behind
it's
her.
like well no, at first it starts it's like a boiler room and it's
Okay,
just pipes and things and nothing, and then out of nowhere he kind of just materializes in
yeah,
and starts scooting closer to the screen, which was really cool because it ends with like him being like pressed up against her TV screen and like banging on it, which would be a really interesting way to do any kind of horror movie because that feeling of someone looking through your TV screen would be terrifying to everyone. Then it switches to her, well, the place where she's babysitting's house, and she's looking at the TV and he's sitting on the couch. But when she
yeah,
looks over actually at the couch, he's not there. And
yeah,
like she keeps going back and forth and now he's standing up and so she's freaking out, so she's over trying to eject the tape and finally she just throws the whole
yeah.
VHS
She
player onto the ground.
she destroys the tape.
and like there's nothing there now.
Yeah.
Or she thought.
And then she hears screaming from the rooms above. She runs upstairs.
She goes to the stairs, and Art the Clown's pointing at her with his, and then pointing to the room where the kids are and doing his menacing laugh without the laughter, which is absolutely horrifying.
Yeah.
And he just keeps pointing at her, pointing at the room, pointing at her, and she kind of like covers her face and screams.
Yeah.
And then he's gone.
Yep. And then she goes into the kids' room, and they are not
Just
there.
heads.
Yep. It was
Heads and blood.
Yep. And Art is there laughing again, and on the wall written in blood is Art.
And that's where it ends.
Yeah. That's the that's all the clowns in a basket.
That's All Hallow Eve.
Yeah.
In a nutshell.
Yep. It was a interesting movie. It was scary. It was more like
It was a gore.
Yeah, it was a gore / like thriller more than anything.
Yeah.
Definitely, a lot of the old slasher film feel with like like the old Friday the 13th and the old
Nightmare on Elm
Nightmare
Street.
on Elm Street and stuff, like
Halloween.
the originals from like 80s, 70s, 80s.
80s.
Yeah. So it was more like that, like with a little what's that one director that I said that did Planet Terror and all those?
Planet Terror, I believe, was Robert Rodriguez. The other one is Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah.
He did the other one.
Yeah,
Death Race.
A lot of Quentin Tarantino's like over the top violence kind of stuff. But overall, I mean, if you're in the indie horror, definitely something that you're gonna wanna watch. We watched it on Vudu, but I'm sure you can find it somewhere else too if you need to.
Yeah, on Vudu, it's like a combo pack of All Hallows Eve and All Hallows Eve 2.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah,
I don't think there was anywhere to watch it free.
Maybe
not. Hulu had, or not Hulu, Vudu had it to watch for free the first two.
Yeah.
But it was like free with ads is the way they do it.
Yeah, so I mean you could watch it with ads
and their ads are awful. It's like every 30, 45 minutes, it's like a 30-minute ad. You're like, Jesus, let me watch the movie.
All ads are awful. But yeah, so it's All Hallows Eve. Thank you all for watching. Technically our first WaffleSammich movie reviews. We will be putting more out soon enough. As always from me, bear hug. And as for Waffle,
like, subscribe, and fuck off.
There you go. Have a
good
night,
one, guys.
Goodbye.